This giant canvas is all ready to paint, but I'm going to take you back a couple of days to where it all began from scratch. So this is Nick from Bristol Fine Art, and Nick brought round stretcher bars, which he'd ordered to the size I specified, and canvas from his shop. So the stretcher bars came from Russell and Chapel, and he assembled them using a rubber-ended mallet, no nails needed, and then used stretcher pliers for stretching canvas. You didn't need to be particularly strong. It was reasonably hard work, but not too bad, and a staple gun. So you stretch it onto the kind of middle of the edges first and then work your way out. It was really straightforward and logical. I've seen it on YouTube loads of times, but just something about watching a professional do it, I picked up loads of other stuff. There's a choice of corner types, so you can fold the corners in a couple of different ways. I went for this one, and then we banged in the keys to tighten the canvas, and Nick sprayed it front and back with a bit of water just to lose those last creases, and there we are. So that night I did a bit of furniture shuffling in my studio and perched the canvas, because apparently you're supposed to gesso it horizontally on the table, and started with the acrylic gesso. I won't subject you to the whole thing in real time because it did take about an hour, but I was just going very carefully, trying to get decent coverage. Being careful to cover the edges and corners as well, because I intend to paint those too. In theory that's enough, but I feel like it needs another coat. I really don't want any damage from the oil into the cotton. And also, because I really like drawing on toned paper, and my cartoon is on toned paper, I'm quite inclined to do the same thing that I did on the NHS Heroes portrait that I did, which is a base gesso coat of toned acrylic gesso. So I'm going to add a bit of burnt umber acrylic paint into this gesso tomorrow when this is dried, and then I'll do a second coat. And the other advantage of that is that I'll easily be able to see that it's got an even coverage and make sure I've really got it on all the sides, because the cotton is quite light, so it's quite hard to see how good the coverage is. It's exciting. Right, it's all dry, and I don't know if you can hear this. It's very toothy. So I'm going to start with a light sand, just to cut down on the roughness of the canvas. I do quite like working on rough canvas, but not quite that much. And then what I'm going to do is, I'll just tip the camera down so you can see. So I've got some burnt umber acrylic paint, and I'm just toning my gesso for my second layer so that I can treat that as an underpainting. I will probably use acrylic paint, a bit like cooking. I might well do an acrylic underlayer. Apparently Géricault used white canvas, and I have read, I don't know how true this is, that he made his painting up against the white, and he worked on patches and kind of tended to complete patches. Not sure whether that's what he did. I know that seems to be what Lucian Freud did, and I'm sure lots of other painters, but I prefer to work in a more keep it generally and lift it all up generally. So I might well do an underpainting in acrylic to start with. We'll see. Anyway, for now, I'm going to move over to time lapse, have a cup of tea, and let's get started. I will treat you to a little bit of sanding because it's very ASMR-y. Listen to this. Ready? That makes a huge difference. Feels much smoother, really easy, just a light sand. So now that's nice and smooth, and I've brushed off the dust, I can apply the toned gesso. Much easier than the first coat because of the difference in colour, and also I think the canvas is much less absorbent as it's got that first layer on. I'm going to be broadly using Géricault's colour scheme but not his methods. Particularly, I won't be studying dead body parts. But looks very like bare plaster, which is rather nice. It's an absolutely beautiful colour. I don't know if you can see, it's pretty even. Certainly the texture, the surface texture is really nice and even. So I'm very happy with that and can't wait for it to dry so I can get started. Next video is going to be gridding it up, just like I did with the cartoon, to get the layout of the figures and the main shapes on the original raft of the Géricault, and then I'm going to freehand do the figures, my replacement figures. So thanks so much for watching. That is 230 by 160 centimetre canvas, all ready to paint.